welcome to episode 6 of the Life Coaching with Ryan book club. We are finishing up the Willpower Instinct by Kelly McGonigal. It's chapter 9. I will do final thoughts later in the week with the book announcement for the next book. In the meantime, let's do this. So I have lovingly called this episode Attention Me, which is the way my partner and I joke about kids who want attention. It's not give me attention, it's attention me now. Beware the object of your focus. You just might get it. This chapter has a lot to do with if you think I don't want to do that, and you put yourself in a state of thinking like white bear. I want you to not think about white bears for the next 5 minutes. There is a high probability for the next 5 minutes, every few seconds, white bear is going to pop into your head. An image of a white bear, the word white bear, etc., etc., etc. What we resist persists. I'm sure you've heard that before. Possible solutions are to simply notice and allow. Oh, look, there's that thought. In the example of a willpower, like cookies. If you walk into the supermarket thinking, don't get cookies, don't get cookies, don't get cookies, don't get cookies, there's a high probability, or at least a higher probability, that you will buy those cookies, because essentially that's what you put your attention on. You've put your focus on the thing you're saying you don't want, increasing the likelihood that it's going to pop into your head. And if it pops into your head, it's more likely that you're going to do it. Another possibility is just examine it. So essentially what we're talking about here is, instead of putting your focus on the thing you don't want, you put your focus on the thing that you do want, like your health goal or whatever of that nature. We'll get a little more detail about that in a little bit. Specifically talking about cookies, Kelly McGonigal brings up this idea of dieting and what works and doesn't work on diets. I actually disagree with the context in which she presents the information. I think the information itself is still perfectly sound, at least in my experience, but the context doesn't work for me. She's talking about don't go on a diet, right? Because it puts the focus on restriction or elimination, deprivation. As most diets are cutting things out of your diet, what you would normally eat. So what I often say is don't go on a diet, change your diet. Then it's about habits. Then it's about how you're going to go about doing what you're going to do, and then it becomes natural and normal. Going on a diet tends to have an expiration date. It has a day when you're going to stop, which of course is going to reduce your likelihood of doing that thing long term. In this case, your eating habit long term. So, what can you do instead? Well, let's not talk about what you can do instead. I would rather talk about calorie restriction. So she says that according to studies, calorie restriction doesn't work. And I call bullshit on that because I myself in January decided I was too heavy. I wanted to lose weight. And so I started changing my eating habits. And what I essentially did was cut probably more than 500 calories from my daily intake, or more. Frankly, it might have been more than that. It may have been as many as 1,000. But I didn't deprive myself. It was a mindset thing. I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm not eating when I could be eating. I was thinking, hey, I'm going to restrict my calories so I can find out how much my body actually needs. And then once I found out what my body actually needs, I'll make sure that that's what I'm giving to it. And I lost 30 pounds. I lost 30 pounds in 4 months. So again, it's not so much that I disagree with the idea that deprivation is not effective. I just disagree with the specific example of calorie restriction being a problem. Another example, I'm a vegetarian. When people found out that I was a vegetarian, very frequently I got the question, God, how hard was it to give up meat? And the answer was, I didn't give up meat, I stopped eating meat. It's a mindset issue. It's a mindset issue. Even though I had that complaint, I felt like the chapter ended incredibly strong with some really practical advice. Page 228 has a list of 3 things that you can do to shift your willpower struggles from I won't challenges to I will challenges. And I'm not going to detail them here because it would take too long, but I highly recommend you read that section. It's immediately applicable. It doesn't matter if your willpower challenge is food or mood or what have you. Really good stuff. Essentially, as I mentioned earlier, you're shifting your focus from prevention, I won't, to preparation, I will. She closes the chapter with talking about being present with your feelings. This is, I think, the critical tool for change. If you are able to be present when you don't feel good, then you are less likely to compensate for that feeling with burying it, distracting yourself from it. Once you're able to experience negative emotion or negative experience, you're able to be more present for positive experience, either in that moment or in the near future, because you've surfed that particular experience. So I wanted to read a quotation from her at the end of the chapter, pages 233. It starts on 233 and ends on 234. In many ways, these interventions tied together everything that we've seen so far about how willpower works. They rely on the mind's ability to observe ourselves with curiosity, not judgment. They offer a way to handle the biggest enemies of willpower: temptation, self-criticism, and stress. They ask us to remember what we really want so we can find the strength to do what is difficult. The fact that this same basic approach helps such a wide range of willpower challenges, from depression to drug addiction, confirms that these 3 skills, self-awareness, self-care, and remembering what matters most, are the foundations for self-control. I thought that was a fantastic wrap-up, essentially, of the entire book. Chapter by chapter, those are the 3 biggest concepts that we've been dealing with. That willpower prescription from chapter 2, I believe it was, about how we treat our bodies, how we treat our minds, how we treat ourselves, will determine how successful we are. So my question for you for this episode is, in your experience, how true is it that outlawing something increases your desire for it? I hope you all are having a fantastic day, and I will see you very soon for the next episode, which is my final thoughts on the book, Kelly's final thoughts on the book, and the announcement of our next one. So I hope, again, you're having a great day, and I'll catch you later. Bye.